And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm touching base with you as I do every single day except for Sundays because a brother needs to rest. And so, how are you all? Welcome to Touch Base Daily. It's so good to see all of you. It is a new day. It is our Wisdom Wednesday. And you know what we do on Wisdom Wednesdays? It's all about connecting with other photographers and people in the creative space. And this is like no other. We have our wonderful Wisdom Wednesday with photographer Omar Ramos, who is an amazing photographer. And also, for disclosure, he is my best friend, one of my best friends. And I am so proud to be able to have him on this morning. So first, I'm just going to just introduce you guys. Just kind of, you know how we do the comments and how are you doing and all that good stuff. So I see in here, Derek Tuggle is in the building. What's going on? Derek Tuggle is in the building. Kelly A is in the building. Good morning. She says to everyone, so good to see you. Let's see who's going on. What's happening on Instagram? Let's see who's there. I see July 8th is in there. I see Quinn Temple is there. If you are in Instagram, I don't know why you're there. Come on over to YouTube where we are at, which is on Touch Base Daily. You can just click on the search and you'll be right here with us. You'll see the live tab and you'll just click on the live tab and join us. It's such a much more pleasant platform to be on. Okay, so come on over to Touch Base Daily on our YouTube channel. If you are not there, come on over. Come on over, baby. That's my song. That's my song. Okay, I see also Alicia Mays is in the building. Karen is in the building. They're all saying good morning. I see another good morning. Oh, there we go. Hannah's in the building. What's going on, Hannah? Hannah is in the building. So I see Omar is he's behind the stage and still saying good morning, even though he's gonna say good morning when he gets out here. Rashawn is in the building. She says, good morning, Ron and RLP family. So again, without any further ado, today is Wisdom Wednesday. We have our community guest. I like to say our community guest because he's part of our community. He is one of my best friends. And but before we go there, I want to show you some of his work because that's how we do. We show off people before they come on and say, why are they here? Why are they here? Well, you want to know why they're here? Because Omar has amazing work. So look at this. I mean, if you have not seen his page, first of all, you can go to Instagram, Photos by Omar, and I'm just going to take you through a walk of some of the work. I mean, Omar is known for his editing skills, one as a photographer. When you are connecting with Omar, you are connecting with the full package. And there's Mr. Omar right there on set somewhere. But look at the photos. The photos are just so beautiful. And I love looking at his work. As a matter of fact, I tried to copy everything he does, especially as I try to do like my headshots for corporations. I try to make sure that I am doing the right thing. And I always use his pictures as a guide. Now, he does commercial work and editorial work. So he really takes the editing to the next level. I simply go in, I take photos of my clients, and then I move on. But again, just checking out his work is superb, brilliant, and he connects with so many different models. He's also been responsible for models getting their breaks and helping them with their careers. One connection with Omar is not just one connection. It is usually a connection, the beginning of a relationship, a friendship. So I know all those models out there. I've talked to some of his models and they love him to pieces. So anyway, so I guess with no further ado, because he's no stranger, he is no stranger to the Touch Base Daily family. And so here we go with Mr. Omar.
Good morning. Good morning. Excuse me. Me,
Was that
me,
a
me, me,
froggy?
me.
Froggy? Did I hear froggy?
I haven't sang in a while, so my voice might be a little bit on the tangy side, you know.
That's right. Omar used to sing in the choir.
I did for 12 years.
Yes, yeah.
Choir.
You were in the choir, correct?
I actually get those who follow gospel music remember Alvin Slaughter, and
Mhm.
we came in the choir at the same time. So yeah.
Wow, I remember those days. Can I say something about Omar? And this is how amazing this guy is. When I first attended our church, a church here in Brooklyn, for those that don't know, it's called the Brooklyn Tabernacle. It's a very famous church around the country for its choir and ministry. And so my first day in the building, I arrived being a PK, coming from my pop's church,
Yeah.
and then saying, I'm on reconnaissance. I'm checking out what's going on here at this Brooklyn Tabernacle. And I had just, I mean, I was going to prayer meetings and all that stuff that they had at the church. And then next thing you know, the first person to greet me, the first person in the whole church to greet me was Omar. I was standing out in front of the church, and Omar was like, "Hello." I was like, "Hello." He goes, "Is this your first time here?" I said, "Yes." And next thing you know, here we are 40 plus years later as friends. And so I always tell folks, your greatest friendship is only a hello away.
That's true. That's true. And we've done a lot together growing up, and we grew up as young men, and now we're old men.
Yes,
We're seasoned.
we're seasoned. We're seasoned. Omar and I were also going to be roommates until he dumped me for his wife.
Yeah, you saw how that went.
He was like, later, guys. It was three of us. And he was like, we, he was like, I'm getting married. I was like, where did that come from? We didn't even see it coming.
Me neither.
Yeah. We did not see it coming, and it's so funny. But again, Omar, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being my mentor as a photographer. Thank you for being the voice when I first started my career as a photographer. You came up to New York and we sat down at the diner and you said, look, this is what you need to think about, and this is what I want you to be aware of. And I've taken every single word that you said and put it into action, and also not put all the obstacles or the burnout and all the other things that come with being a photographer. I was able to be forewarned, so I was able to protect myself along my way in this journey. But enough of me. So, Omar, what are you up to these days?
Well, I'm just like everybody else, as an entrepreneur, a business owner, you're trying to fill out your calendar, fill out your dates, and working on different projects. It's kind of funny. You have, if you've been doing this for a while, you have history to look back. You know what you did last year and the year before, and it's in how the market works. I think a lot of what we do was obviously impacted by COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and it's starting to come back, our industry, but it's still not there yet. We're still dealing with some challenges as far as larger events and so on. So and those types of projects. But as companies are starting to require their employees to come back to the office, uh, uh, begrudgingly, most people don't want to. So,
Like, I don't want to go back on the trains
no,
and
they
the
don't.
cars.
But we need them to go back to work because
Yes.
that's because we do headshots. And I just did a headshot for somebody I knew for over 15 years,
Mm.
and the company that she worked for, she's a paralegal, and they don't pay for the headshots for other than just the attorneys. So she had to pay out of her own pocket to get her own headshot.
Mm.
She lost a tremendous amount of weight. She looked fantastic, and she contacted me, and I got our headshots done. But yeah, our businesses, it's really reciprocal of what's going on in the world as far as the financial industry and so on.
Yeah. So, Omar, I'm going to treat you like I treat other guests.
I feel
I was
weird.
I told Omar, I said, it felt so weird researching your best friend. I was researching Omar's career, and I said, "Oh man, I got a lot of goodies here." Obviously, I watched his career. Again, Omar and his brother. We all grew up in the same, like I said, in the church, in the same church. We were all in our very early 20s, like 21, 22 years old. I think I just turned 21 or something like that.
Which
And
would make me 20.
so Omar and his brother used to roam around the church with these cameras. But even when we hung out, like we would go down to Juniors, we would hang out downtown, we would go down to the corner restaurant because it was two Spanish restaurants on the corner, and we used to go from either one of those, depending on which one was filled up. But every time you saw Omar and his brother Jonas, they had cameras with them. And if for the ones for we who did not have the cameras, we're like, Omar carries that camera everywhere he goes.
That was our calling card. We were our mentors, at least our photography mentors, always told us you should always have a camera around you.
Yes.
Um, even then, looking back then, I wish I was a little bit more diligent because, now 40 years later, all the things that we saw, all the things that we could have documented, and
Yes.
that mindset wasn't really there at that time. I didn't get that mindset till later in my career, but it's if you're starting out as a photographer or a content creator or so on, just document everything because
Document.
you
Yes.
never know when you're going to use it or need it or look back and so on. But now with digital cameras, back then it was film. It's a lot easier, obviously, to just pull out your phone or pull out your camera and just shoot.
Yeah. Well, Omar, so since we're on the beginnings of your photography career, how did this all start? How did you come into the world of photography and made it your passion? How did that happen?
Well, no, this is an hour show, so we'll try to do the abridged version. It was really kind of simple per se. My brother-in-law, Jose Carrero, got into photography first. He got a little camera and he literally built a dark room in an apartment, like
Mm,
a walk-in dark room in a two-bedroom apartment. And so when he got his camera, I was like, "Yeah, I want to get a camera too." So it was
mhm.
really just as simple as that. I was just mimicking what he was doing. And at the same time, I was interning at a graphic design studio. So I was 17 years old, and I really wanted to be an artist. I loved comic book art, fantasy
Mhm.
artwork, and I wasn't really that good. I learned I wasn't really that good, but I was always around art. I loved art. I loved that kind of work, and so I got my camera and I was just kind of messing around with it. Nothing serious. This is before Terry, before all those guys. But we had one photographer at our church that took pictures for our church multimedia. And so he was kind of the one that started the path for me and my brother to just start taking pictures,
Yeah.
and just gave us the ability to explore and to learn through the lens. And then really right after that, I met Christopher Morris, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer who started going to our church
Mhm.
simultaneously with Terry Weir and Phyllis Kewington. and they were all these photographers were coming to our church, and but Christopher Morris kind of helped me understand like shooting transparency film, E6 and all that. And I would walk around the city with him. He was a cool dude. We were young, skateboarders, all that stuff like that. And then I had this aha moment that this was really what I wanted to do. This is really what I wanted to do. And I met we had a church play. I don't know if you remember John Ingham.
Yes, I remember John. I
John
remember John.
John would do these plays, and I was casted in the play. And one of the photographers, Larry Dockery, who also was partners with Terry, did some stills of us, of the actors. And at that time I had an afro.
He had a big one, y'all.
I had a nice fro. Nice fro.
He had a fro.
Yes. So he backlit me. I had that nice glow and all that, And I saw that photo. I was like, man, this is it. And I asked him. I said, hey, I really want to know more about photography. And Larry invited me to the studio. Gave me their business card, and I went to their studio. Their studio was on Park Avenue and 18th Street, and beautiful location, beautiful floor to ceiling windows, 6,000 square foot. I mean, I can only imagine what it must be costing today. But Terry Phillips were the real deal. They were the real deal. So I met Terry Weir that day when I showed up, and it was a God thing. When God steps in, when there's things go from one direction to the next. I was just going there just to kind of like say, hi, I really want to know photography, kind of, like that. I don't think people do that. Well, they do. I've had some people knock on my door. I usually say no, but
But Omar, you met Terry, you met Phyllis. What kind of relationship how were you able to build a relationship with these two very key people? Let me just say what you were able to accomplish with them. You were able to you work with Coca-Cola, Arizona Clothing Company, Neiman Marcus, J.C. Penney accounts, and editorial work for magazines such as Harper Bazaar, Essence Magazine, Ebony, and then you were on to the other stuff where you were doing the top fashion people like Oscar de la Renta and Perry Ellis, Calvin Klein, and Christian Dior. Like, that's like fashion royalty, magazine royalty. You ended up touching and connecting with all of these amazing brands. And how did you cultivate that relationship with Terry and Phyllis that opened all these other doors?
I became their personal slave. I mean, I was very fortunate. I have no formal education. I was just shooting around at the church, and I made the connection with Christopher Morris, and then Larry Dockery, and then Larry to Terry. And when I met Terry, it was just, oh my gosh, it was an instant connection, instant, we just really, the first hour of our conversation and was really about God, and we just had this personal bond. And once we knew that, he knew my background and his hunger for Christ, it just kind of ignited that relationship. And so he took me on sight unseen. Okay, I'm just saying this doesn't happen. He took me on sight unseen as an assistant, and for the next 2.5 years of my life, I was immersed in the advertising and fashion industry.
Wow.
I learned from scratch, but I had the best teacher in the world because he let me put my hands on it. He let me get involved. He from darkroom work to light setups to camera now they call them camera techs.
Yeah.
You got somebody, their only job is to set up the camera. I,
Yes.
you know, I set the cameras up, set the lighting up, create the backdrops, clean the sets, all of that, and that's because Terry and Phyllis poured into me.
Mm.
Literally, I'm just saying they poured all of their knowledge into me, and he gave me my first commercial shoot, which was Neiman Marcus, and through Neiman Marcus, I was able to shoot all of these brands: Perry Ellis, Christian Dior, Calvin Klein, Estee Lauder, Hermes, Judith Lieber, Oscar de la Renta. I mean, I was now at that time 19 and a half years old,
Only 19.
only 19. Now, granted, I wish I unfortunately, with success comes immaturity. I was not mature. Uh, my head got bigger, bigger, and bigger, and thinking, I didn't understand the term networking and creating relationships.
Mm.
Okay, because all of that I started off with dissolved because I'm thinking that they're always going to call me, connect with me. I'm the guy. I'm not
Mm.
realizing that there's 10 million other photographers in New York City.
Hello. Hello.
And that's back then. I can only imagine now. So it was a lot of lessons learned early on that kind of brought me to this point here today.
Wow. So I mean, you end up doing this amazing career. You're young. You also, with being young, we squander our time as being young. We don't always see everything. We don't see the whole picture. We see what's immediately in front of us when we're young. But when did you make the transition that you went into that lull and you were like, okay, work is not going to just come out of nowhere. What was the catalyst for you to step it up, where I mean now you have a business, you have a full business, let me just put it up there, Omar Media Productions. So what was that bridge between the kid that was like, I'm good, I can do this, I got all these, I can get any client I want, I got the top clients in the world, especially in New York City. Um,
I feel like I lived
yeah,
about 10 different lives.
you lived 10
Um,
lives.
and it's that's still a long conversation to get to where I'm at today. But primarily, when I moved to Texas, was to rescue my marriage. So my ex-wife was from Texas, and we moved to Texas, and I was a full-time photographer, and I was also working at a reprographics printing company in New York City.
Hmm.
So I was always around creativity and creative printing and all of that, and my photography was embedded in all of that. So, but when I came to Texas, I didn't know anyone. I didn't have those relationships. My brother, who was already in Texas, was over 100 miles away. I didn't even know how to drive when I moved to
Mm.
Texas. So I was a fish out of water and literally lost. So as time went on, I started getting my photography back on board, and I started working for. Actually, I was a head photographer for Kenneth Copeland Ministries here,
Mm.
and I was a head photographer for a place called Studio 121. I was bouncing around. I was working for
Hmm.
other people. I was still in photography, working for other people, but it was not valued. Here in Texas, I think our living wages were about half of what New York was, and so a wedding where I could get a few $1,000s in New York, people were like $400, $800 for a wedding, like a full
Mm.
day wedding, and this is still in film days. So uh, that being said, it was tough for me and my family, so I had to get a real job, and that was kind of the beginning of where things started merging together. So I was very fortunate with my background. I got into the legal community and I was able to become. I grew up. I grew within the business as a partner, where all of my skill sets were printing, scanning, photography, all of that. I was able to transpose that into the legal community.
Mm.
Made it all the way up to being a partner of a company, and but then I was still unfulfilled. I was unfulfilled because I was always still kind of working for somebody. I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't really satisfied just doing the legal stuff. And I opened a small studio in the same building I had my firm, and I would separate myself from my partners and be upstairs in my little studio, and I started taking clients.
Mm.
And then that's when guys kind of stepped in. We had a big, I had a big client that kind of booked me. My annual revenue from one client was about $300,000.
Mm.
So one of my partners there decided to not want to do his job was operations. He didn't want to do any work for them. He just
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden say, "I'm not going to do any work for them," and I'm like, "That's my client." And we lost that client. I lost that revenue, and I got I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. And so I opened up my studio, had support from my family, and I've never looked back since then.
Wow.
This, now in Texas, the studio's been up. My studio's been up and running since 2012, and praise God, things are still here. We're still here.
I'm showing people your work, and you take some of the most amazing shots. Your portrait shots. First of all, I am honored to have been in front of your camera last year. And everyone loves my photos. But like, look at, how do you, this, like, you're looking at this, and these two gentlemen, two, two genres, but you're able to move across these genres and photograph these styles. How did you become so acquainted with connecting with these different genres, or just being able to be so versatile in your work?
Well, I've always taught, when I teach photographers, I use this analogy. I say you're the train conductor. You're driving the train, and the model is the one that is going to be your passenger.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm doing a session, or someone hires me, I interview my client. I interview the person. I get to know their vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and then I get to see what I have to visualize how I'm going to place them in a photograph. So I think it's really important as photographers to connect with those individuals and find their vibe and find their, what connects with them. Because if we try to force them to do something they're not comfortable with, the results will not be satisfying. So we have to do our homework, just like you just did your homework on me. We got to do our homework on our subjects. Even if we get booked, say I want to do headshots or portraits, find out a little bit about their interests and what their likes are.
Wow. Again, your work is, you photograph men, women, older women, models, runway. You, you are your range is incredible. And like, for instance, like these shots here and these amazing backgrounds. What? How are you determining your background when you are photographing your subject?
I love texture,
Ah.
and texture is very important in my portraits. And so I incorporate textured backgrounds and digital backgrounds as
Mhm.
well, to emote that feeling that I want and use that color shade within the photograph. So texture
Wow.
is super, super important.
Is one of your main ingredients.
Hmm.
Yeah, when I look at your photos, like this beautiful hard concrete background, but look how soft she looks.
Hmm.
I see that you do a lot of contrast.
Hmm. I think a photo without contrast is flat. I just I don't ever. If you ever see me light anything, it's never going to be straight on. You
Hmm.
know, it's always going to have some sort of shadow or some dimension to it.
Wow. How did you learn how to photograph this way?
Practice.
Because you have your own style. You
Yeah,
literally have a style.
I,
Um,
I I practice,
you do your
practice.
workshops.
You know, and you know what? You know, we're all a byproduct of someone that came before us. You
Yeah.
know, I love Annie Leibovitz's work. You know, she's one of them.
Yes.
Uh, 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 Mark Ziegler. You know,
Yes.
those are like giants to me. You know, and so you know, I just kind of incorporate the styles that I like. Try to create that relationship, that connection with the subject. And
Hmm.
then, I like realism. I don't like to. I don't, someone told me yesterday, said you're the photographer that doesn't use props. I don't use props. You know, I don't. I think we remove a lot of things when we have props and stuff like that.
Also, the props take away from the subject,
Right.
and it's so nice to just zero in. And I would, I never thought, I never made the connection, but it was a subliminal connection of Annie and your work. I see a lot of Annie in the background choices, like the greens, the hunter greens, the browns, the golden browns. So really cool. Well, I'm your friend, so I love your work. I mean, it inspires me. So
So this black and white
yeah.
shot here was at my this at a funeral, and so I brought my little. I had a little Fuji X100 camera,
Hmm.
and I brought it, and I was just kind of just observing this young man, and this it was his grandfather that was being memorialized, and just sometimes as photographers we just have to be quiet and listen and see and just capture what the moment gives you.
Hmm.
And this is some of my, I have an actual series of photos of these that's not published, but it's one of my favorite series of images that I was able to capture.
Wow. Well, I see some of the questions. We're gonna have a lot of questions on Q&A today, which is great. We got some good questions going on here. Um, my next question is, now recently made some transitions in your business. You've gone from pretty much a photography business to now you are a media business. So you have incorporated photography and videography and podcasting, and
Yep,
there's a whole lot going on in
a
your
whole lot.
studio
It's a whole
that I
lot.
was like, holy moly.
It takes a lot. I mean, we want to live a certain lifestyle. We
Or
sometimes
keep up.
you gotta keep up with the times, and there's an investment to things. You know, I'm looking at my cinema rig. Let me grab it real quick. So I don't know if y'all can see this. So this is my cinema rig here. In 5 years ago, 3 years ago, I never thought I'd be doing video. Never ever ever thought I would be doing productions like this. And
Wow. It is amazing, Omar, and it goes to show you how, as photographers, we have to be willing to also in our businesses, we have to be willing to expand and to kind of like experiment and try some new things. It's so funny that I was going to call. I said I'm going to call Omar because this Sunday will be my first actual video that I'm going to be doing just video. I'm going to be with a client. It's not photography, but I will be doing video for the first time. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm falling in the same crack as I told Omar." I said, "No." I said,
You
"How
are.
did how did I get here?"
We're,
But
you know, you're following the same footsteps. In fact, you've surpassed me in so many different areas in this industry. And that really makes me so proud. Um, you know, this is an evolution industry. You know, we have to fight a lot of things that are impacting our industry. Pretty much number one, AI,
mhm,
and you know, what keeps us unique. What keeps what you know what values do we bring to a client? You know, if we're charging them thousands of dollars, you know, what are the values that we bringing to our clients? So now we have to have all of these other kind of not just the photo, but also we got to do reels and we got to do this and do that to you know to be competitive.
uh-huh.
So you know, as long as you know I'm able to do this for the next, I mean, 10, 15 years, you know, we're gonna put everything in the soup. So
Look, I told you. I said, "Look, I'll be coming down to Texas, and you'll be coming up to New York."
right, right,
We have decided that we are going to definitely support each other's businesses. So
yes,
you have another thing that's going on. First of all, there's a big weekend situation happening soon, but you are also a brand ambassador for Cheetah, Cheetah
yeah.
Stand. So what's the deal with that? How did that happen?
Well, really, I'm a customer. You know, I met Edward Tang, who is the originator of Cheetah Stand
Hmm.
here in Dallas. I was looking for a modifier, and this was early on in my off-camera flash career. I was like really not into off-camera flash. I started out as a natural light photographer, and you know, and when I was even doing runway fashion back in the day, I just had a Vivitar 283 flash on top of my camera, and that was
Hmm.
it. I was not into studio lighting or anything. And so, but I was running into some issues because the modifiers that I was getting, um, they were just self imploded. They were cheap, you know, they were just really cheap. And but then you had your Ellen Chrome and Pro Photo brand to also, which were like 5 times more expensive. I was like, I can't afford that. I'm not going to spend $400 for
Hmm.
a modifier.
Yes.
And so someone told me, hey, you need to check out Cheetah Stand. And they had a really wonky website. It was terrible.
That's they could put money towards the brand, to the product versus the website, right?
Oh, that was early on, so this is 10 years ago, and but the address was a Dallas address. I said, well, let me just drive over there. And
Wow.
again, there was another kind of God relationship. Edward's, bless his heart, he passed away last year, but when we met, he embraced me warm-heartedly, and we created a relationship. And I bought 2 or 3 modifiers from him, and then I just started tagging him and on Facebook, and you know, I really love the light that I get from these modifiers, and so then after that, we just kind of create this relationship. He said, "Would you want to be one of my ambassadors?" And I said, "Sure." You know, yeah. I mean, I use the product. It's not like I'm, you know, selling something I don't know. And then Ed sold the business to 2 young photographers, Charles Wynn and David Loy. Both are wedding photographers, like
Hmm.
high end wedding photographer. Like they're up there, they're up there in the wedding business. And they bought the business from Edward, and we continued our relationship, and so now my capacity is even greater because now I can offer more as an ambassador. I'll be doing some online videos for them as teaching people how to use these modifiers. Also, next week, well, on Sunday, I'll be in Las Vegas for the very first time as a exhibitor for cheetahstand.
And let me tell you, when I go to these expos and I run into all these amazing photographers, they are there as ambassadors and they represent these brands and all these different brands. And I was like, Omar is going. I said, I wish I could just fit in your bag and you can just take me with you. But I'm just so excited that you're going to be working at this. Was it WPP? Is it WPP?
WPPI, yes.
PPI, and you will be working there and showing off this amazing brand. I got a chance to meet one of the, I think, the partner, right?
Yeah, David. Yep.
When we were both being interviewed by you on your show, and with your work, so your workshop, we were just being there for your workshop. Uh, and one more before we go into Q&A, and it's a good note to go into Q&A. How did you begin your workshops? What caused you to step out and say, you know what? I'm a photographer. I've done business. I've gone different places. I've shared stuff. And then you said, you know what? I'm going to have workshops. And you do a lot of workshops. People
I
don't
do.
realize in Dallas, if you are interested in photography, and you forgive if you can hear the sirens going around, this is called New York living.
We don't have that here in Texas.
you can always be guaranteed to hear a fire truck in New York. So, but you have these workshops. And like I'm saying, if you are, if anyone out there that's a photographer, you're in the Dallas area or you can get to Dallas, Omar does a lot of workshops. So are there particular workshops? Are they designated? Do you repeat them? Is it like maybe 3? I mean, what is your workshop structure like?
I do repeat my workshops, and it's twofold: workshops and meetups. So I have a lot of photographers who just want to shoot. They're weekend warriors, or there are photographers that can only do a certain amount of time a month or something like that, and they cannot generate a their own I guess shoot. And so since I know so many models, I want to give them opportunities to be in front of the camera and to network. So it's our photographers meetups are really big, very popular. And some of these photographers have gone on to bigger and better things because of these meetups, because they get the practice in.
I mean, you have one. I do believe one of your photographers is now a Nikon ambassador.
Yep. Daryl, I remember Daryl coming to my very first workshop, which was the business of photography, which I do every year. And he came to that, and that dude stuck with me like a sponge. Literally moved in for a year and rented time at my studio just to be close to everything that was going on. And he's a phenomenal photographer. Like, there's nothing I could teach him. He when I can get you to your style, when I can get you to your what you're excited to do, I'll take my hands off. I don't need to instruct you on anything. He found his passion. He found his look. He found his texture. He found his, so and Nikon found him. Heck, I've been shooting Nikon cameras for 20 years. Yeah, they haven't found me yet.
They haven't found me yet either.
But it might be an age thing. But anyway. But yeah, so the workshops I do, I try to do 1 or 2 events depending on my schedule a month. We'll do one. We will do one meetup a month. I'll try to do a workshop every other month because that takes a lot more out of me. So, we have our 5th annual swimsuit in the park photographers meetup coming up later in March, and March, April, and that usually brings out a ton of photographers.
I heard that a lot of people love that. You said swimsuit, right?
Yeah.
swimsuits in Dallas.
It's the models love it. They always come back. They always ask me when I'm going to do it, and they want to be a part of it. And again, it's a great networking opportunity because some of these photographers are starting out into some brand work, or they need to connect with other models. So it
Mhm.
helps everyone. It helps the community.
Wow. Well, it's time for Q&A, sir. It's time for some Q&A. And yeah, we have some folks in here that have been asking questions. So we're going to go to a couple of them. Trish says, what is your favorite go-to camera for street photography? Are you on a mirrorless now?
Yes, I've been mirrorless for quite a while now. I don't want to say I was an early adopter because with Fuji and Panasonic cameras were out there. I didn't want that; they were just too small. But yeah, I shoot Sonys and Nikons, and they're all mirrorless. And I think if I was going to go just do street photography, it would be my Sony A7 IV. It's still small, still light, and
Hmm.
uh, um, but if I was going to go back to Fuji, Fuji came out with the new Fuji the Fuji 106 or 5, I forgot what number. Beautiful, very small, light, compact camera, and you could put a nice pancake lens to it, and then you could be shooting beautiful black and whites, or
Mm.
their film simulation is like none other.
Wow. Here's another question, sir. Dr. Tachi says, what are your concerns about AI when it comes to photography?
Whew, they're huge. They're huge, and I rant about it all the time. You
Yeah.
know, if you don't know, I really post more mainly on Facebook because I feel more connected
Hmm.
to my audience on Facebook than on other social platforms.
Can I
Uh,
interject? He has a group on Facebook called The Nerds. And that's where you will find out all kinds of technological
stuff.
nerdy stuff.
I'll be sitting there eating breakfast and just posting. But um, yeah, AI is a direct impact to creative ingenuity,
Hmm.
at least human creative ingenuity. AI's job is to learn from us to replace us, not to be a help, because
Hmm.
jobs are literally falling off the shelves right after another. And we don't talk about it enough in the news when when Amazon laid off 30,000 people.
And Google laid off several
Google laid off
thousand.
70,000. I think it was 70,000.
Amazon laid off several thousand,
Yeah, thousands and
hundreds of
thousands.
thousands.
All these tech companies are laying off all of these all of these people because AI has replaced them.
Mm.
And so, if you think that AI didn't impact the technology industry, the photography industry, what happens is now that it's gotten so smart, it's really learned from all of the photographers in the world to now do generated images by a couple of scripts.
Yeah.
So why do you need to spend money on me? So I'm just saying to all of my photographers out there, creative, all that, oh yeah, AI can do this and makes my job faster, blah blah blah. Now it does until it doesn't.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's a help now until it doesn't help you. It
Wow.
takes over. So we got to fight for the human factor in all of our crafts, all of our creativity. You know, yes, I use Photoshop. Yes, I use, and Photoshop is not AI infused, and Lightroom is AI infused. All of these programs I retouch very minimal on my work. I really do.
Hmm.
I don't use AI generated backgrounds. I don't do any of that kind of altering. I want my work to look like if it was shot out of a film camera. That's my goal. So eventually, I might even get rid of all my digital stuff and just shoot film
And go back.
and
Go
just
back.
go back. Because I need that human connection between me, the camera, and my subject to feel like I've actually done something. I want to do something. I don't want AI to do it for me.
Mm. Next question. Um, Omar, what was your biggest challenge when you said you didn't network and creating your own business?
It's me. I was the biggest challenge. I was, I wasn't I wasn't an extrovert like Ron. Ron would walk in the room and hello everybody, and then everybody knew Ron was there. Um, I was very shy. I don't say I was a complete introvert, but I was very shy. But I was a hard worker, and I would, if you told me to do something, I'm going to do it. But I didn't follow up, and I didn't. It's like, hey, I was afraid if I followed up, someone would say, "Well, I didn't like this,"
Mm,
which was a very dumb perspective. But I was very afraid of negative criticism,
mm,
and we got to put ourselves out there. If we're in this creative industry where we're working with people, you got to get feedback. You have to get feedback, and it took me several years to accept that. And if you look at my Google page and my Google review, that's huge to me. Those are all organic reviews, all real customers. That's what I fight for. Now I have this relationship, this connection. Even if there's a challenge with a job, I'm going to work my best to get it right.
yeah. Wow. Okay, Omar, it's coming to the close, and I have a question that I ask every now. This I've learned that this is a good question. What if you could go back to your 15-year-old self? What would you tell your 15-year-old self?
15. I was so dumb. I think parents do a better, at least parents that I know do a better job preparing their kids for the world.
Hmm.
My parents really didn't do that, but it was a different time. You
Yeah.
know, uh, we were working, we were the working class or the working poor, and we were very fortunate when we had meat for dinner.
Hmm.
Plus whatever. You work hard, you stay out of trouble and all that. That's what I was doing at 15. But education should be always be a priority. You know,
Hmm.
I was not a good student in high school. I wasn't a good student. I took a year of college. I wasn't a good student there. We didn't have programs where you can adapt your learning skills, because you're ADD or ADHD or whatever, or you have this kind of learning style. There were no programs in my time. It was just like this is it. This is your
Do it.
choices.
That's right.
And my father, when I turned 18, my father told me two things. He said, "Get out." He said, "Get out, get a job, and that was or go to the military." And well, I didn't want to go to the military, so I got a job. And I've been working pretty much all my life. In
Hmm.
fact, I was working at 15. So, it's all my kids, which are grown. I've stressed education, multiple streams of income, not
Hmm.
just to rely on this and that. They're all are hustlers. They're great hustlers, legal hustlers.
That matters.
That
Legal
matter. They're
hustlers.
legal hustlers, not like their daddy. No, but no, they learn their lessons. They don't like to be poor, and so you learn from those. You learn from those your past, and today, I don't like I like my comfort, and so I fight for it.
Yes. Wow. Well, sir, guys, here's a couple of things. If you want to follow our wonderful Omar, you can go to his website. which I shared with a little bit of that today. His photos on his website are absolutely amazing. If you have some time and if you're a photographer and you are interested in photography and you are like, you know what, I just need a role model. I just need someone just to kind of get a little sampler of what they can do. Check out Omar's website, and also you can also check him out on his Instagram, and that is photos by Omar. You can check him out there. And for all those people that are in the industry and you're looking for cheetah products, I said I may be changing over my all my modifiers because they look so good, and Omar represents them. Omar has had I would say almost, is it a decade?
Yeah, decade.
A decade
And I
of
still
experience.
have those. I have still have my first. I have modifiers that are discontinued that still work.
You have a whole wall full
Yeah,
of modifiers.
yeah. You
You're
know,
like a doctor. You're like, okay, scalpel,
exactly,
scalpel 3, 3-9, 3-84.
exactly. You
That's
know,
how you do your diffusers. Also, so if you want to, you can use Omar's discount code if you want to get 20% off. It's 20% discount, and you can go to www.cheetahstand.com and /Omar Ramos, and that will get you a discount for those cheetah stands or cheetah modifiers.
and and
Uh,
and if you're going to be in Las Vegas next week, I'll be there from the March 3rd to the 6th. Come pay me a visit. We'll hang out. I'm gonna be doing a photo walk sometime. I don't know what day, but I'll be there. I'm gonna be having fun. I'll be at the Cheetah Stand booth, and also I'm more very interactive on Facebook. So you don't have to be my friend if you don't want to, but you can, you can
He's
follow
a
me
good
on
friend, y'all.
Facebook. It's Omar Ramos on Facebook. I also have Omar Ramos Photography also on Facebook. But I love to chat a lot. I'm always open to helping people. If you have a question about anything, just shoot me a text.
Okay. So, guys, if you enjoyed this Touch Base Daily, I know our Wisdom Wednesdays, I love them because I get to meet and talk with photographers. I get to do what I love, and that's be curious. I love hearing what people have to say. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you hit the like so that the algorithms know. And also, if you are a member of this channel, subscribe. This is what we do on Wednesdays. On Mondays, we do something different each day. We focus on a different area that's hopefully going to help you as a creative, or help you as a citizen, or just simply as a photographer in the photo industry. So this has been great, Omar. Thank you so much for being here. I see some love in the building. I see Rashawn says, thank you, Omar. And
Thank you, Rashawn.
Karen Walters says, thanks so much, guys. And I see here also, Trish said, thank you for answers. And I'll put up there again, our Gerard Gaskin also said, thank you again for doing this, Ron. Thank you, buddy. And for those of you want another great interview, check out our Touch Base Daily. And Gerard Gaskin talks about his career as a ballroom photographer, and that is ballroom, not the dance like the cha cha cha, but it's the ballroom culture, and you will learn a whole lot and get a lot of insight from Gerard's interview. I hope these interviews are helping you. I hope these interviews are encouraging you. I hope these interviews are spurring you on in your photography. If you're watching this, if you happen to see this in the replay, or you happen to see this 10 years from now, is that you are inspired, that you can be who you are as a photographer. What's beautiful about photography, and what's beautiful about the photographers I encounter, every photographer is unique. And I often say, and this is not a criticism, but I always say, it's old, like the old English would say, woe to those who try to imitate others, meaning you have to, yes, it's one thing to learn a skill in photography. Like Omar says, he loves Annie's work, but he pulls from it and then created his own work. So, guys, there's only going to be one Gordon Parks,
Mm-hmm.
and we won't want another Gordon Parks.
Mm-mm.
There's a bunch of photographers out there. Keith Major, who's I think he's at Ebony, right? And all these amazing, or Jamel Shabazz, who's in this community here, and there are only one of them, but that's what makes them unique. And hello, folks, you can be unique too. Just discover who you are, discover your craft, discover what makes you tick, discover what makes you can't wait to get up in the morning to grab your camera and run out into the streets or onto some mountain or some slope somewhere. Yeah, it's all about finding you in
Yes,
the process.
really
This is the
important.
journey.
Really important. And that just, if I could end with this, I shot for a studio called Gamma One for 7 years, and I was in that. In between that 7 years, I learned to discover who I was as a photographer. I was working for someone, but I was able to photograph artwork from all over the world. And I, at that time, was so important to me. Don't rush your process.
Hmm.
Enjoy the process. Learn to live through the journey as you learn to find out who you are as a person, and then you find out who you are as a photographer. You'll find your niche. Okay, it's the thing that brings you the most joy, that you will do it for free. Like literally, I would do this for
Yes.
free. If I didn't have to pay bills,
Yes.
I would do this for free because I love it so much. That's when you know when you find your niche.
Mm. Okay, guys. We can stay here all day because Omar and I, we have the gift of gab, and we could talk for hours.
I'll be in New York soon. We'll do one when we're together in New York.
Yes, he is coming to New York. Hopefully, this spring will, or I should say summer, and we're supposed to be working on a project together. Hopefully, he'll be in here. And but you look, Omar's in this community. You will hear from Omar. He probably will be a sub. When I'm not here, I'll be like, Omar, take the helm.
We can do it. We can do it. I got your back. I got
That's
you.
right. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had a good time. And I hope you just really, again, took in some information, learned about, who you are, what you can accomplish as a photographer. It is so cool to hang out with you all every day on this platform. So, guys, have a great day. I will see you tomorrow with Chris. Chris and I will be here tomorrow, and we're talking politics and some of these politics that will affect us as
Woo!
creators. So
Yes.
we'll be talking some different line stuff in the
I'll be
headline.
listening.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you, audience. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this. And I will see you tomorrow.